Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Watercolor Wednesday. I'm Leslie Watkins. I hope everybody's well. I have had a very busy last month with the pop-up shop, and I'm completely discombobulated. So let's see if I can, there we go. So it's been a whirlwind of activity. So for 30 days straight, I had the pop-up shop, and of course on the days that the shop wasn't opened, I was busy designing and doing all the other things. And so it was pretty much 7 days a week, and today is really my first day off, and I'm completely discombobulated. And we moved all the things out of the shop yesterday, and it's everywhere. There are boxes and bags and things. I don't even know where everything is yet. There are things missing. So I'm completely all mixed up today. But and so I'm sorry I came on a little bit late, but I had to clear off my desk. So so I've done that, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a how to combine watercolor painting with paper crafting. And so I'm using, let me turn you down here for a second. So I'm using the Mediterranean Blooms Designer Series paper, and I also have the Citrus Blooms bundle. And if you are not familiar with this paper, let me just share with you what it looks like, because it's really beautiful. So here is the DSP, Designer Series paper, and so I've already cut into it quite a bit, but you'll be able to get the idea here. And hi everybody, well, let me just see if we are live. Let me check my settings. Hang on. Yes, okay, there we go. So that's looking pretty good. So the Designer Series paper is called Mediterranean Blooms, and it features this beautiful orange and lemon kind of citrus pattern that you can see here. But then on the flip side, it has all these wonderful blue Mediterranean style tile designs. The other thing that's nice about this paper is that you can actually use the dies that come with the bundle. So here they are. You can use these dies to actually cut out some of the designs from the paper itself. So I did that here. You can see an example of that. But what I want to share with you today is how to combine watercolor with paper crafting, because what I want to do is I want to decorate the top of this box. And to do that, I want to create some sculpted flowers and have some leaves and greenery, and I want to imitate these kind of citrus flowers that you see illustrated on the DSP. Before we get to that though, what I want to do is show you some of the projects that I've been making using this suite of products. So let me just tuck this away. I love this paper. Okay, so here are, I'm going to zoom you in a little bit so you can see better. So this was a note card box that I made using the larger dies. So here's an example of what the dies look like in the package. So you can see you've got the outer edge, which is going to cut the perimeter of the die. You've got this leafy border that creates this gorgeous die cut. And then you've also got this central leafy business that you can use to cut apart and create a multi-layered floral effect. So really gorgeous dies in there. So the box was made with a vellum window, which allows you to see through what's on the inside, so you can see the top of this card that's in there. And then around the sides I added that pretty all over pattern. There's a couple of thumb holes to help open up the box easily. And I think if I hold it so you can see here how that vellum window adds that extra little touch to the box, which I think is so pretty. So here are some of the cards that we made. So these are, there's a lot of fancy folds in here. So here's one that opens like this on the diagonal. Maybe that's a little too close. There we go. That's a little bit better. Okay, so I added a little bit of the scrap from the designer series paper on the inside just to give it a little more of that tie-in to the tile effect. This was a card that was made entirely out of scraps, so if you've got leftover pieces of DSP, and it doesn't necessarily have to be from the same set, this is a nice way to use up those little pieces. And then of course you could put a label on there with some sort of a sentiment if you chose. Here is a gift card. It has a space on the inside for your message, but it also has a little pocket on the front so you can put a gift card or some cash or just a cute little sentiment on your tag here. And there's that pretty center to that die set that I mentioned earlier. I think it's so pretty. So that just slides right into the pocket nicely. And I added some matching ribbon. Here is another fancy fold. I think you would call this maybe a box fold. I'm not sure, because it creates a kind of a little box on the inside of the card. And you can see that beautiful border using that designer series paper. And I love how that looks with the Night of Navy background. So there's one with the orange. Here's a very simple card. All I did was let the designer series paper do all the work, and I put a little contrasting design in the background just to give it that sort of finished framed effect, and I like the way that looks very much. Here's another one using the lemons, and this time I just put some cardstock around the edge. Here is a trying to think of what the name of this might be. It's kind of a easel Z-fold. Okay, so you've got the space on the inside for your message, and then you've got this pull-out extra panel to add extra dimension to the card. The side view looks like that. You can see that clearly. Okay, it's super easy to make, very, very simple. And then finally in here I have another of those and this time just featuring the orange motif. So there they are side by side. So I thought this was a very beautiful suite to work with. I felt inspired by it, and I thought that what we would do today is finish up this box. So this is basically a decorated explosion box, and it opens up like this. And again, you can see that beautiful tile motif on the inside. Okay, and the outside looks like this. Then you've got your lid with the matching lining. But what it's missing, I think, is a little bit of decoration on the cover. So I was looking at this one, and I like this, but I wanted to go a little bit further with this box. So to that end, I'm going to find a piece of watercolor paper. So hang on just a minute while I get one of those. So this is the Fluid 100 watercolor paper, and I will list the supplies that I used to make this box after the video today. I also have a lemon, and this is going to be our subject for today. And we're going to keep it very simple, but I thought that a lemon is something that most of us have to hand, and it has this beautiful shape, and I think you can see. Let me show you something here. So here is the lemon. Let's zoom in here, because this is sort of key to all of your painting or sketching. So here we have a spherical shape. You can see the highlight that is coming in through my window on the left. You see the light area of the sphere, and you see the shadow area, and then you see a little bit of a lighter tone, and that's the reflected light. If I take my paper and I bring that closer, you see what happens there? It's as though I'm turning on a light switch. And all that is the light that is reflecting off the surface and back into my lemon. Okay, and that can be very helpful for describing the form. Now, I don't know if you can tell that there is a very dense cloud moving in here. We've had on and off rain all day, and it just got super dark in here. So I hope you can still see what I'm doing pretty well. All right, so over to my right here, I have my watercolor paints. I've got 3 colors. I've got yellow, red, and blue, and that's all I'm using. I've got my paintbrush, and I have a number 2 pencil and my lemon. So I'm just going to put this over here where you can see it as well. And I'm going to be cutting this apart, so I'm just going to put my lemon over here, and I'm going to leave room to paint some green leaves and some of those flowers as well. But today we're just going to work on the lemon. So I'm going to lightly draw the shape, and actually I want to keep it a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna reduce the size of that a little bit. There we go. And I've got my eraser. So I have a little bag filled with erasers. I have to do this to keep the cats from taking them and hiding them on me. So this is a kneaded rubber eraser, and I'm just going to give that a gentle pull to get it supple. And then what I can do is I can just remove that excess pencil line from around the edge. There we go. Okay, and I'm zooming you in so you can see that, because I know it's hard for you to see. There it is. I'm going to take my brush with plain water and I'm just going to moisten the area. I also have a paper towel to hand so I can remove excess water from my brush. And I'm staying away from the highlight area because I'm just going to leave that as the white of the paper. I don't want any of my watercolor paint to get in there. And now I'm just taking a very pale wash of my yellow paint. There's nothing else mixed in there. It's just the yellow. And then I can soften this edge here, and that is my first wash. So just as easy as that. Now I can go back into my yellow and get a stronger mixture, and I can just increase the amount of paint on the shadow side. Okay, so I might be a little bit hard for you to see that at this stage, but there is a very subtle difference. And now what I'm doing is I'm adding a little bit of red to my yellow mixture, and that's going to make it that much darker, and you should be able to see that pretty well. So there we go. There's the beginning of my shadow side, and I can just sort of push that around with the tip of my brush, make sure I get that where I want it to be. Alright, and then using my brush that's has less water on it this time. I've blotted most of the water out of it, and now it's what we call a thirsty brush. I can just take that and clean up that area where the reflected light is. Keep that on the light side. And finally, I'm going to take my strongest mixture yet of the yellow with a tiny bit of that red in there, and I'm just going to put that in my darkest dark. Okay, so I'm getting some nice form on there. I'm happy with that. Now there's one other little thing, and that is I have the place where the stem was on the lemon. I want to add that. So for that I'm going to take some of my blue, mix that into my red to get a kind of a blue-violet color, and then my yellow mixture, so essentially mixing all three of my colors together, and I can begin to get a nice dark to sketch that little nub like so. And then finally I'm going to take my blue and my red and get a very dark violet color and just put a little accent towards the bottom like so. Alright, so that is my lemon, just as easy as that. I'm going to use my heat tool. So this is my heat tool. Let me zoom you out a little bit. So there's the heat tool, and it has two settings. I've got high and low, and I'm just going to use this for a minute to dry off my painting, and I'm going to mute the sound so you don't have to hear the sound of the heat. Okay, so it's still a little bit damp, but it's dry enough now that I can cut that out. Got that little bump. All right, and so there is my lemon shape. Okay, and what I can do now, actually, let me just improve that a little bit. There we go. Now what I want to do now is I'm just taking some of my yellow paint, and I'm just going to go around the edge. You could do this, you could use a sponge, you could use a dauber, you could use your inks if you wanted to do the same thing. I just want to knock down that white of the paper that is along the edge of the lemon. Okay, and finally, what I want to do is I'm getting my piercing mat. Now this piercing mat is just a piece of foam, so I think you can see that. So it's just this very dense foam. You could do the same thing on a mouse pad if you don't have one of those. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip it over, and then I'm going to use something as a stylus. So I have my my ball burnisher here. You can get some larger ones. I'm going to begin gently with this in the middle, and I'm just sort of going in a circular motion. Just keeping it moving. Now remember, my paper is slightly damp, just a little bit, and that's helping to bend the paper so I get a kind of a domed effect. Now I'm going to try something a little bit larger. So I've got the tip here to the cap of this stylus. I'm going to give that a try. That's working pretty well. And I'm pressing fairly hard. And that's helping to give me this sort of domed effect on my lemon. And then what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to use that on the lid of my box with some of that foliage and make a really nice decoration. So I hope that gives you some ideas. I really love doing these sculpted flowers and shapes with the die cuts, and I thought it would be fun to show you how you could make your own. So if you don't happen to have a die cut that matches the shape that you're interested in recreating, you can just paint your own to very good effect. So here it is again, and I'll zoom you in and get a good look at that. So there it is, the lemon shape that I just painted. And I want to remind everybody that this weekend, if you are local, if you're near Norfolk and you want to swing by for the Weekend in Norfolk Festival, it begins on Friday, it goes through Sunday, and I will be on the second floor above the National Iron Bank, and I will be demonstrating watercolor and paper crafting, and I'd love for you to stop up and say hi. So I hope to see you there, and stay tuned for the big announcement about the new watercolor card club. So that's going to be launching very soon, and I'm going to be explaining more about that next week. And if you are on my list for notes from Dandelion Cottage, all of the information will be there, and there will be a special launch gift, special for the people that have subscribed. So there's still time to subscribe. Please do that. You can do that on my website at dandelioncottagedesign.com. Subscribe to notes, and you'll hear about all the upcoming classes, events, and the Watercolor Card Club launch. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Stay well, stay happy, stay creative, and I will see you next time.